Good afternoon, everyone. I am Joycelyn Cantal, and I am reporting the Module 5 Evolution of Anti-Corruption in Thematic Shift. So, in recent years, there has been a growing recognition that corruption is not just a crime, but also a development challenge. Corruption undermines good governance, economic growth, and social justice. And as a result, the focus of anti-corruption efforts has shifted to promoting good governance and development. This has led to the adoption of a more holistic approach to anti-corruption, which includes measures to address the root causes of corruption, such as poverty, inequality, and weak institutions. Evolution of anti-corruption. The thematic shift in anti-corruption has evolved over time. Initially, the focus was on punishing corrupt individuals. However, it soon became clear that this was not enough to deter corruption. As a result, the focus shifted to preventing corruption from happening in the first place. This led to the development of a variety of anti-corruption measures, such as transparency laws, whistleblowing protections, and asset recovery regimes. The thematic shift in anti-corruption is still ongoing. However, there is a growing consensus that a comprehensive approach is needed to effectively address this complex challenge. This approach should include a combination of measures to punish corrupt individuals, prevent corruption from happening, and promote good governance and development. So there are other factors that have influenced the evolution of anti-corruption, including the rise of international cooperation on anti-corruption, the increasing use of technology to fight corruption, and the growing attention to corruption by the media and civil society. The evolution of anti-corruption has been marked by a number of thematic shifts, including socio-cultural. There has been a growing recognition of the role of culture and social norms in perpetuating corruption. This has led to a focus on initiatives that promote transparency, accountability, and civic engagement. The evolution of anti-corruption efforts in the Philippines can be seen in the socio-cultural. There has been a growing awareness of the negative impact of corruption on society and a demand for more transparency and accountability from the government. This has been driven by a number of factors, including the rise of social media, which has made it easier to expose corruption, and the increasing participation of civil society organizations in anti corruption efforts. So, here's the example: the No to Corruption campaign, which was launched by the Office of the Ombudsman in 2017, is an example of an effort to raise awareness of corruption among the public. So, the campaign uses social media and other channels to educate people about the causes and effects of corruption and to encourage them to report corrupt practices. So next is the governance. There has been a shift away from top-down, government-led anti-corruption efforts to more inclusive and participatory approaches. This has this has involved working with civil society, the private sector, and other stakeholders to address the root causes of corruption. There have been reforms to the legal and institutional framework for fighting corruption, including the creation of the Office of the Ombudsman and the Presidential Anti-Corruption Commission. These reforms have made it easier to investigate and prosecute corrupt officials and have also helped to raise awareness of corruption among the public. So example is the passage of the Anti-Money Laundering Act in 2001 is an example of a reform to the legal and institutional framework for fighting corruption. So this law makes it a crime to launder money, and it also requires financial institutions to report suspicious transactions. So number three is extractive industries and basic services. There has been a growing focus on corruption in extractive industries and basic services, such as healthcare and education. This is due to the fact that these sectors are often characterized by high levels of corruption, which can have a significant negative impact on development. There has been a focus on preventing corruption in extractive industries and basic services such as education and healthcare. This is because these sectors are particularly vulnerable to corruption and because they have a significant impact on the lives of the ordinary citizens. Example is the Public-Private Partnership (PPP) Center is an example of an effort to prevent corruption in extractive industries. So the PPP Center is responsible for managing PPP projects and it has a number of safeguards in place to prevent corruption, such as conflict of interest checks, and transparency requirements. So these are just a few examples of the anti-corruption efforts that have been implemented in the Philippines. While there has been some progress in fighting corruption, the problem remains a serious one. There is still a need for strong political will and sustained commitment to anti-corruption efforts in order to make a real difference. In addition to the thematic shifts mentioned, there are also a number of other factors that have influenced the evolution of anti-corruption efforts in the Philippines. This includes these include the following: the level of economic development. Corruption tends to be more prevalent in countries with lower levels of economic development. This is because there is more poverty and inequality, which can create conditions that are conducive to corruption. Next is the political system. Countries with weak political institutions and a lack of transparency are more vulnerable to corruption. This is because it is easier for corrupt officials to operate in these environments. And last is the culture. The culture of a country can also play a role in the level of corruption. Countries with a strong culture of integrity and accountability are less likely to experience corruption. The evolution of anti-corruption efforts in the Philippines is a complex and ongoing process. There is no single solution that will work for all countries, but the factors mentioned above can provide some insights into the challenges and opportunities for fighting corruption. That's all. Thank you po.